don't want a 10, she 100.
So this is the golden nugget, the 6-step sales process, and I'm gonna break these down in depth. I have a whole PDF I'm gonna show you. But for number one, you have the introduction. So obviously demonstrate you're a natural human being, right? So this is like when you cold call, you don't want to sound like a robot. You don't want to sound like a guy from India that sounds like an India scammer. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know what I mean though? Like just show 'em
yeah,
like you're a real person, bro. Like you're a real guy. Like you really sound something you breathe. And
like
then
yeah,
so that's the introduction, right? And then number two is brain digging. And basically you want to establish trust and get as much information from the prospect as possible and quickly, right? Because if you get more information and data, then you know how to sell to them on the pitch or the sales call, right? Because you'll know exactly what they want, exactly what their goals are, and then you can formulate your proposal based on their goals and their pain points, right?
yeah.
So that's why gathering data on them is super, super important. That's why data is worth a lot of money. Um, and then number three is shift. So transitioning into the pitch with zero sales resistance. So one, two, and three, that's what is considered the setter. So the person who does the cold call and kind of builds rapport and connection. And then 4 through 6 is the closer and the person that actually does the sale. So it takes two people to actually get the whole 6 steps like completed and take someone from not knowing who you are to paying you. It takes two people for high ticket sales anyways. For you, since you're doing lower end, you can go higher ticket if you want by selling bulk only. But yeah, you don't have to have two people. You could just do it with one person, but it's still the same like process. So the shift, you want to shift them into the pitch after you gather the information. And then the pitch is where the closer will basically give them a simple bridge and explains how they'll get them from point A to point B, right? Because obviously if you're running a business, you have goals, you want to get from point A to point B. Basically, you're wrapping the pitch around how you're going to help them get from point A to point B so they're fully like understanding how you guys work and how you're going to help them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
Because like if you because like it's the same thing I said earlier. Like if someone tells me they're gonna get me from making 20K a month to 80K a month, and all they're wanting is 5K a month, and they can get me to 80K a month within 90 days of working with them. Like, okay, cool. I mean, I'm sold. Like, would you be sold? That's just free money, basically. They're just printing it for
I
you.
would definitely do that. I would do that.
Right. So it's just showing them how to get from point A to point B and how you are going to help them get from point A to point B. So simply, anyways. And then 5 is in committing. So them actually knowing what happens after they invest into your company. So yes, showing them the bridge of how you can help them get from point A to point B, right? But showing them how you work as a company. So like when they pay, you'll send them a contract. They'll sign the contract. You'll give them, you'll onboard them into your into your portal. You'll put them into their CRM or whatever, like whatever your onboarding process is, you just make that clear so they understand what's happening after they pay you, essentially. So for you, for example, after you get paid and you have a client, what are the first things you do?
Um, the first thing, um, so once I got them in, I figured out when I could like meet up with them, get their design. Then we figure out pricing, and then well, we figure out how many they need, and pricing, and then from there we just get their order out. Well,
Okay, so
I get that.
Okay, so after you get the sale, you do the delivery by packaging what they need and ordering what they need and then delivering what they need to their store location or whatever, right?
Uh,
So basically, you just would want to make that clear in the proposal or the pitch that that's how you work and it's like a simple 3-step process. So they're not like confused and they understand how you guys are going to actually collaborate together. Does that make sense?
mhm.
And then 6 is objections. And there's always objections. It could be a financial objection, a partner objection, or I've done this in the past, objection, just different types of objections like that. So you want to remove all common objections. And now I'm actually going to break down the 6-step process here in a second. I'm going to pull it up right now. Yeah, what are your thoughts on so far, like just how I'm putting together this training?
It's fire, bro. Like to be honest, like I want to get into training, start making me some money. Like, would you say like doing this is it better than working a job? Does it pay
Oh,
better?
dude, totally. There's people making millions just closing for other businesses a year. Like there's people that do closing only and they make more than Fortune 500 company CEOs.
Sheesh.
There's more money in this than actually owning a business if you drive a lot of sales because you're not have to paying for labor and all this other stuff. Like you're literally just making the sale and getting paid.
No, yeah, I would definitely want to do this for sure.
And yeah, this will give you like good sales experience. Like even if you want to grow your own business, you need to know how to do sales. Like I was
No,
interested.
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like become good at become good at this and then use all the knowledge that I'm learning from making sales from this, plugging it into like my t-shirt stuff. And
Exactly.
then like eventually like find other people who are interested and then probably plug them into like this course too. If they have enough income or whatever, plug them into this. Once they learn, probably try to hire them for my t-shirt shop. Just depending if they want to like make extra money, but like they'll probably
Oh,
make enough
totally.
money just doing closing sales.
No, totally. That's actually like what like the whole purpose of this academy is to take people from not knowing sales or knowing sales, but a little bit about it to being a high effective seller in the high ticket space. And even specifically, like I was giving examples for the alternative education industry because for high ticket sales, that's the best way to like close and make the most money, in my opinion. But yeah, dude, like knowing sales is just powerful, bro. And like training your team, yeah, putting them through this first, that's definitely power. And you'll have a good ass team. But all right, bro, I'm gonna run through the 6-step process right now. You ready?
Yep, yep.
I know looks like a lot. I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna make it simple and sweet. 'Cause that's what I do, you know. So, all right, so this is a 6-step process, right? It approximately takes 6 to 9 calls to actually sell the high ticket product. Within the course of, we'll say, depending on what you're selling, probably 5 to 15 days, maybe even more. If it, like I said, it really just depends on what you're selling and how good your setters and how good your closers are. But yeah, so there's two people that it takes to do the whole process: the setter, the closer. And this, it starts with the setter, ends with the closer, obviously. And the closer is who makes the sale, and the setter is who like establishes a connection and connects with the prospect and warms them up, basically. Because you don't want to give the closer like and spend his like time like trying to close people who have no idea what you're even selling, right? Like that's not a good use of someone who's good at sales, right?
Mhm.
So it's getting someone to warm them up to then shift them to the closer and yeah, get them going like that. So first off, you have introduction, right? So introduction is basically the first call you do with the prospect, and basically you're just like showing them you're a real human being, that you're not a scammer from India, and yeah, you're actually selling something. You have an established company, all that type of stuff, and then you want to build rapport with the person on the first call. Obviously, just by like bro, if you know in the first call like the person is into football, like talk about football then. Like if you know a little bit about football, talk about football. And then they'll see that you're a real person, and then you'll actually like establish a connection. There's something they're like passionate or interested in. Like, wouldn't that make you connect with someone a lot easier if we started talking about like, yeah, bro, I used to run a clothing brand myself, man, and I really like doing it. I did blah 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 blah, and you run a clothing brand. Wouldn't that just like build a connection right off the rip?
No, yeah, definitely would.
Yeah, so doing something along those lines in the introduction is super important, and just like talking about whatever you think they're interested in. And you can even ask questions to get like what they're interested in. You can ask things like, what's on your agenda today? Or what's your plan for this week? And then they'll tell you like different things they're doing in their lives. And if they say, well, I'm going to a football game on Sunday, then cool. You can talk about football. You know what I mean? So it's just using the data that they give you to build a connection and then to actually close them on a sale, right? So yeah, so you want to introduce yourself, you want to build rapport, and then you want to frame yourself for the next call, which is the brain digging call, and you just want to set the agenda for the call and basically just talk about how you just want to gather information about their business or whatever they are. It could be a consumer as well. So you understand what they are, what they do, why they do what they do, their goals, their desires, and to where you can actually effectively know how you can help them if you can help them. And then obviously if you can't help them, you're not going to sell them anyways. Because obviously I hope everyone only sells things that they can over deliver on, right? But not everyone does that. But yeah, so set the agenda and the main outcomes for introduction. So the first step is demonstrate you're a natural human being, and then make sure the prospect is in a good time and a good place for the call, for the brain digging call. So if they're in the car, like they're not going to really be able to focus or focus on driving. If they're at a baseball game and they're watching Billy pitch, they're not really going to be paying attention to you, right? So you need to make sure that the time that they set, they're for sure able to pay attention and take notes and be able to have a conversation in a quiet place with you for the next call, right? Does that kind of make sense? Do you have any questions on that?
No, I don't got any questions on that. You broke it down pretty good.
Okay, cool. So, like I said, the second call would be brain digging, right? And to kind of put this in perspective, you're just trying to get as much information from your prospect as you can. And you know how like a doctor like asks you a lot of questions to see what type of symptoms you're having or stuff like that to actually give you a proper diagnosis.
Yeah.
So basically, it's the same thing in sales, but instead of giving you a diagnosis, they're trying to give you a pitch. So by asking all these questions, you're going to know how to actually give the pitch and be able to sell them on what you're selling because you know all these different types of information about them. And I'm about to break down the questions that you ask to where you can formulate a really, really good pitch for when you pass, for when the setter passes to the closer, they have all this data that the setter collected. They can do the sale and be a lot more effective and more than likely close, right? So
Mm.
make sure you ask these questions in order. And the reason the order is important is because obviously this person doesn't know you. It's just the second time talking to you. You don't just want to start off the call by saying, hey man, so what are your desires, right? You want to start by asking like different background questions, things about them, what they're struggling with. And also the power of asking questions, question-based closing is super, super effective. And the reason it's so powerful is not only because you collect data, like I said, but when you ask them questions, it shows that you care about them. And obviously people love talking about themselves and people love talking, right? So when you're asking them questions, they're just going to be talking. And when they see you're asking them questions and you're listening to them, they're going to actually listen to you and listen to the closer when you're giving the pitch because you've shown that you care and that you listen to them. Now they're going to listen to you, right? But it starts with them, right? Because people are selfish and love talking about themselves. So ask them questions, and not only will you get data, but you'll build a connection and make them want to listen to you. So first, and keep in mind, I'm going to add like a document to the course of all these different types of questions, like different questions you can ask within. And essentially, these aren't going to be questions that work for every service, every product. I'm just going to give you examples. Obviously, you need to curate certain questions, but around these topics based on what you're selling or your product or service or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just going to give like examples, right? So the first one is you want to establish background questions. So you can ask questions um, like what's your business plan? Like what have you done in the past that's worked for marketing? How much revenue did you make last month, last year? Just different questions like that, right? And then pain questions. So what are their biggest struggles in their business right now? What are they struggling with? Like what is blocking them from making millions of dollars or billions or whatever, right? What are they struggling with? What are their pain points? Is it hiring new staff? Is it training their staff? Is it having good marketing? Like what is it? Find those get answers to those types of questions, right? And then the next one would be doubt questions. So this could be like doubt they have in themselves. It could be doubt they have in your business. It could be doubt they have in you as a seller. Like, figure out what type of doubt they have. Like, are they doubting that their business is even capable of making $1 million? Are they doubting that your business can't make them $1 million? Like, figure out what their doubt is, right? Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Okay. And then the next one you want to ask is financial and resource questions. This kind of goes back to the background questions of like asking how much money they made last month, last year. And then based on what type of like revenue they're bringing in, that's going to tell you how much you can actually sell your product or service to. Because you could be selling the same exact service for $500 to someone because they don't have that much money. You could sell that same exact service to a company with a lot of revenue, a lot of money for 7 grand. And you're selling the same exact thing. You're just charging way more because you know how much money they're making and how much money they're willing to spend on what you're selling. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's really important, is to know how to price your offer and your pitch, right? So getting those answers are super important. And then solution questions. So like, what type of solutions have they done in the past to fix their said problem or their said pain point? And did they work? Did they not work? Like, just stuff like that, right? So, and then the next one would be cost questions. So, how much have they spent on trying to fix their pain that they have stated, or how much do they have to spend on marketing if you're offering like paid advertisement or something like that, and stuff like that. And then you ask desire questions. So basically, what are your goals? Like, what are you trying to do within the next year? Are you trying to make 500K? Because like, if you have a business that can make like you make your clients $1 million a year, and their goal is like 250K a year, then like that's an easy close, right? Because they're only aiming for 250K, and then you can come in and say, yeah, well, we can make you $1 million a year. And then it's like, oh wow, done, I'm in. That's like that's times four of my goals, right? So getting like knowing
Hmm.
what their desires are and figuring out how you can take them from hell to heaven. So from point A to point B, how can you get them from where they're currently at in hell, we'll say, to their ideal situation, making their ideal revenue, and call that heaven, right? So how can you get them from that point to that point? You want to figure out, establish what their desires even are. Okay. So that's why that's super important as well. And then support questions or partner slash spouse. So like basically people have business partners. Some people want to run it by their like spouse, and like just if they should even pull the trigger on your marketing service or whatever. So they have to go ask their partner, ask their spouse, whatever. So just eliminating all these objections before the pitch. So that's the whole point in this whole thing, is like eliminating the doubt, eliminating like showing them solutions, eliminating their cost questions, understanding their desires, eliminating their pain and understanding their pain, all before you give to the closer. You want to make the setter's goal is to gather information and make it and like build trust and move them to the closer with like zero sales resistance and like basically ready to buy at that point, right?
Yeah.
That's the goal of the setter. Honestly, the setter is like doing like the most work, I'd say, like really warming them up and doing this, like becoming their friends and establishing this connection, and then sending them to the pitcher or the closer, and then he just has to sell in one phone call, right? Now, after you do this, so the main outcomes of brain digging is check all 8 boxes of these outcomes. So you want to get all of these different things like gathered on your prospect before you send them to the closer. So make sure you get all these written down, noted down. And then 2, the main thing within this is establishing trust, way more rapport than you even got from the introduction call, and just really becoming their friend. The setter becomes friends with the prospects. It's so easier. It's way much easier to close. So you want to become their friends and not look at them as dollar signs, but look at them as people you're like about to help because you're confident in your product or service or what you're selling, right? And if you're selling for another company that's established, and they're $1 million business or whatever, they're obviously not selling garbage. You're selling things that are actually gonna impact people's lives and like actually deliver and actually help them out, right? So you need to know that when you're selling to them and really have that in your head that you're trying to help this person, not just make money off of them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And you just want to become their friends, establish trust. And you want to do this as quickly and efficiently as possible, right? Because you want to warm them up as fast as you can, send them to the closer so we can capitalize on them and obviously sell them the thing that will impact them as well. So yeah, just you want this whole process to be as quick as possible. Now, the third part is the shift. Now, option one is preferred, and it's a super basic transition. So basically, you build so much connection with this person in the brain digging call or however many calls or texts that you send to this person. And they're wanting to get closed at this point. Like, you know so much about them. You have helped them out with and answered a lot of their questions. Like, they basically are saying, like, okay, where can I buy? Like, I'm ready. Like, okay, give me the pitch, give me the details, right? Like, they're ready. Like, that's what you want to get them to before you transition them to the closer, right? So the closer has a very easy sale. That's the goal of a setter. Now, option two is a basic transition, so like kind of in the middle. And then option three is advanced, like you basically pre-pitch and kind of give them a little bit of information on what you're selling. And obviously, if you're not a super experienced closer, this is definitely not the option you should be picking. But yeah, the main outcomes of shift is acknowledge the prospect that you hear them and you understand them, and then you want to transition them into the pitch with zero sales resistance. Also, another really important thing a setter has to do is he has to basically make this closer sound like God. Like he is the guy. He's if he's making millions of dollars, whatever, like he's a seven-figure earner, like he really knows what he's doing. Like this is the guy. Like you just want to make the closer sound so good so they take the closer serious and are ready for the transition and are ready for the call and basically are looking for like at this point, like they really want to talk to the closer just because they want to like have that person in their network or connect with someone that's making millions of dollars. Like, don't you want to talk with people that make millions of dollars?
Yeah, for sure.
Right, because there's stuff you can learn from them, right? So like
Yep.
this they're like really hyping up the closer. Obviously all like ethically, like it has to be honest, but like really hyping up the closer. So they take them serious and like are ready for the call. Then that just makes like way easier to sell for the closer as well. And then now that we've done the shift, and now the closer, I mean the setter no longer has to talk to this guy if he doesn't want to after he transitions to the pitch and the closer. It's now the closer's job to do the rest, right? So it's his turn. So the closer is going to give the pitch, right? And then basically the structure of the pitch is going to be promise, bridge, delivery. So promise is like your brand promise. Like, what are you going to promise them? What are you going to do for them? Like, for example, I'm going to make you 100K within the next 90 days. Like that would be something you could say and as your promise, as your brand, if you can obviously deliver that. And then the bridge would be taking them from hell to heaven. So where they're at right now to where they can be in heaven and get their desires and their goals and all that type of stuff. So showing them the bridge and properly laying it out and showing them how they can get from A to B, right? So showing that in the pitch. And then the last part, you talk like the least about like the delivery and how you actually deliver the service as a company. This should take like 30 seconds, no longer. Like you want to basically wrap the whole pitch and the whole call around the promise and the bridge. So what you can do for them, because that's all they care about. Like what can you do for them? Like that's why they're on the phone with you. They're interested in what you can do for them, not what you can make off them, right? So tell them what you can do for them. Have the whole call basically be about that. And then the bridge, have the second majority of the call just be about how you're going to take them with your promise from point A to point B, from hell to heaven, right? Show them how you're going to do that. And then you just basically barely talk about how you're going to deliver the service, right? And then that should be enough to close them. But get the prospect clear on the end result. That's really important. Like what will happen in the end? What will happen at the end of 90 days? So you could say your promise could be, I'm going to make you $1 million in the next 90 days. So at the end of the 90 days, you're going to have $1 million. You're not going to pay me. So you can say something like that, right? That could be your promise, your guarantee. Give them a simple bridge that explains how to get from A to B, like I said in the bridge. So just explaining, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do this for you. We're going to do it by this date. I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do this for you. Be very clear on your guys' partnership and collaboration. And that's what's really going to like clear all their objections and make them want to buy from you, because most people have objections when they're confused. And if they're not confused, then they're going to buy from you more easily, right? And then 3, simply explain how it's delivered. And keyword simply, you don't really want to over explain it. Like I said, like 30 seconds, maybe a minute tops. Focus on making the promise in the bridge. That's the majority of the pitch. But yeah, do you have any questions on that so far? Like,
Um, let me see. Nah, I honestly do not have any questions on that part.
okay, pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
All right. So number 5 after pitch will be committing. So basically getting a temp check, which is like how warmed up are they? Or do they want to buy? Like this is if they don't buy on the pitch call, right?
yeah,
And they need time to think or whatever. You usually they don't need time to think. You just close them on the call. But if you can't, then to get them to commit, you need to do a temp check, see how warmed up they are, if they really want to buy or not. You show them the next steps, clear all the confusion, and then secure the investment, right? So the main outcomes of committing is tie the prospects down to the process. Because like if you have a proven process or a proven system that works, then I don't know about you, but I'd rather buy into something that's a system, not something someone's just trying out, right? Like I'd rather buy into something that is proven to work than something that someone's just trying on you, right? So sell them on the process and the system. And then the next one is you want to give the next step so the prospect knows what happens after they invest. So that's kind of goes back to the bridge, or not the bridge, but like showing them the next steps after they pay you the money. So like, I'll do this for you. 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 And then just making it really clear. So after they commit, they know exactly what's going to happen with their money, right? Because that's what they want to know. Now, objections, and these are kind of like there a lot of these are objections, like questions right here to kind of erase all the objections before the closer. But if they still have some objections that aren't set up here, that the setter didn't gather, then it shows like they'll have uncertainty. So you need to show them why they need this, what you're selling, and why they need it right now. You need to create urgency for what you're selling. So they need this, what you're selling, and they need to buy it right this second, and tell them why they need to buy it right this second, and tell them why they need to buy what it is that you're selling. Like you need to clear their uncertainty about that, right? And now you need to clear the objection of their partner or spouse. And so if their partner is against it, or they're confused on it, or their spouse is against it, then you need to resolve all the objections that their partner or spouse has. And then if it's a financial objection, like, oh, we don't have enough money, I don't know if I can pay for this, can you give me some time to think, I don't know, this is looking a little too expensive, like clear that and show them why it's not too expensive. And they're not spending money, they're investing money. And the whole purpose of them investing money is to get a return on their investment, either through value or a monetary gain. So you're either making them money, or you're giving them value that can maybe make them money in the future, or just value that they're missing and need in their company, right? So that's probably the most common objection, I would say, is finances. So after you've cleared all these objections, you now need to finalize, which is closing the sale, right? So the main outcomes of objections is get rid of uncertainty objections first, remove all spouse and partner objections if there's any, remove financial objections if there's any, and then finalize the close and get the money, finalize the deal, make the sale. Now, do you have any questions on that part of it?
nah, I got no questions on that part either.
Yeah, bro.
Breaking
So
it down
that's
solid.
sorry, what'd you say?
You're breaking it down pretty solid.
Perfect. It's pretty simple, like if you understand it, right? And have a visual to look at. But this is like you just said, like even in the company you're in right now, they use something similar to this. this is a proven system that works. And specifically, this is made for high ticket. You don't have to do as much for the company you're into. Like the sales process is the same, but it's very similar, right? With setting and closing. But this is like the proven system to work in high ticket sales. And this is what I use in my company, Xive. That's actually the logo right there. And this is how we place setters and closers in other people's agencies or coaching and consulting businesses. And yeah, this is what works. So this is obviously what I want to teach. I'm teaching stuff that works, right? So yeah, that's basically that. And bam.